Hello Internet and welcome to another Star Citizen video from Haverside. Today we are talking about the Argo Mole, the second mining ship available in Star Citizen. The Mole is fantastic for group play, but between you and me, I find it equally as entertaining and a darn right more profitable to use it solo, and believe me when I say it's an experience to have. So if you want to learn more about the Mole, how I use it, some pros and cons, and just generally having a real nerdy time geeking over spaceship pixels, then join me as we talk all things Argo Mole. Are you ready? Let's get to it. The Argo Multi-Operated Laser Extractor, or MOLE for short, is a ship that does exactly what it's called. It is a second mining vessel in Star Citizen, often considered a step up from the Prospector. It carries an array of 3 large, independent mining lasers that can be used by 3 crew members. Though they are larger than a Prospector, they only provide an increase to range at this time. They provide no additional power, so they don't mine faster. It also comes with 24 mineral pods, each holding 12 SCUs for collecting ore, so you can expect to retrieve up to 96 SCU of Quantanium or other mineable resources, 3 times more than a Prospector would. Just like the Prospector, in future game iterations, the cargo pods are said to be droppable and haulable by cargo operators for efficient mining fleets. With retractable and deployable engines for takeoff and landing, and moving laser parts, this ship has a lot of moving parts, which ultimately provides a very pleasurable viewing and, most importantly, an immersive experience. The ship even comes with VTOL engines, vertical takeoff and landing, that will rotate when engaged. Add in the bright and industrial vibe, I for one love the appearance and design of the Mole, especially over the MISC counterpart. When you come in the ship from the elevator, you've got the first floor, which has got the left and right laser access, and then once you go upstairs, you've got a crew quarters area and access to the cockpit and also the third laser, which is the central laser on the Mole. The ship comes with 4 beds for logging out, and you can also jump down to the central laser to avoid having to do the animation for the ladder, which saves time. You might take a small smidgen of damage. The cockpit has 2 seats, one for the main pilot and the co-pilot, so this ship really is dedicated to crew gameplay. Within the community, there is a lot of debate about whether the Mole or Prospector are better ships. Generally speaking, there are some well-known pros and cons for using the Mole over the Prospector. In my opinion, the pros outweigh the cons, and I so much enjoy using the Mole over the Prospector. The cargo hold alone, the 96 SCU of cargo, make it a fantastic ship. I don't have to min-max when I'm collecting my ore. Multiple lasers allow great group gameplay, but it also allows me as a solo player to change my lasers to have different setups depending on what I'm doing. In regards to extracting ore, that is another major gain. I don't have to worry about what I'm picking up. I can literally crack a rock and then just suck up all the minerals that drop. I've got a big enough cargo hold to cover them. Some of the biggest cons for the Mole are its high buy price. You need 5 million credits to purchase it in-game. The other biggest bugbear is the pilot has no laser. You need to move chairs to access the laser. Whilst not a big issue, really, it takes less than 30 seconds to get out of the pilot seat and change to the main laser. A lot of people don't like it. And lastly, this ship is huge. It's heavy and it moves like a truck, which in atmosphere can cause a few accidents. So don't be surprised if you slam into the planet's surface a few times until you get used to how this ship handles. I've been there, trust me. There is a lot of discussion over whether you should use the Mole or a Prospector when mining. In my opinion, I prefer the Mole, but as long as you're being efficient when you're mining, it really doesn't matter. With the Mole, I can earn more than a Prospector does in one run. Imagine taking both ships out. You find the same rock, but the rock is more than a Prospector can handle. I can take it all back in the Mole, where the Prospector is limited to its 32 SCU. So think about it. Have you ever been out mining and you've come across a Quantanium patch that you could mine, but there's literally so much Quantanium there you can't handle it in a Prospector? Well, guess what? In a Mole, I can sit there for 10 to 15 minutes longer and haul it all back. Whether I am out in my Prospector or my Mole, at that particular time, I will find the same rocks on the run, so I'd rather be prepared for the eventuality I'll come across more than a Prospector can hold, and this is why I prefer the Mole. I can literally carry more back when I find it. If I don't find it, I haven't lost anything, but when I do, I'm earning more than that Prospector would. and add to the fact that 96 SCU of cargo removes a lot of stress of min-maxing, I don't have to worry about sorting out the rocks after I've cracked them to make sure that they hold the most quantanium and I'm sucking it all up. I don't have to worry about that. I crack the rock, I suck it up. I don't care what's in it. The mole can handle it. But overall, this is my view, and not everyone will share it, and that's fine. Most important thing here is to have fun playing with the ships and with the playstyle that you enjoy the most. There is no right or wrong method, and some people prefer the Prospector, and as I said, that's just fine. Haverside, however, has no friends, so playing solo is simply his preferred method of play. I don't have 3 Prospector buddies ready to roll, so Mole's perfectly fine for me. To purchase the ship, you need to head over to Lorville, which is in Hurston, take a right at the Vantage rental kiosk, and head on further down. To the right hand side is the New Deals workshop. Inside here, head to the rear of the shop where the Prospector is, and you can purchase the Mole for 5,130,500 AUEC. With the Mole's earnings, I like to consider it on a per run basis, though ideally I want to keep those runs down to as less than an hour where I can, if not faster. With 96 SCU of cargo capacity, I have the potential to earn up to 800,000 AUEC per run using the Mole. Now let's be realistic here. The chances of you finding enough rocks to mine to fill up the Mole fully, with Quantanium for example, is quite uncommon, though possible. And then you have the aspect of what you're hoovering up. You're not necessarily going to hoover up all the Quantanium in one go. You might have a lot of inert materials or other materials that you're just collecting because the Quantanium is in those rocks. So, being realistic, you might not fully max out the hold. The closest I've ever got is 8,721 units of Quantanium in one run. And that earned me over 700,000 in profit. And you can see from on the screen now, my last few runs have been anywhere from 7,000 to 6,000 to 8,000, which was the biggest run I just spoke about. At the end of the day, as long as I'm having fun and ideally earning over 32 SCUs in a run, I'm a happy bunny. When fitting the Mole, it is completely personal preference, just like the Prospector. Fit it how you see fit in regards to the modules and lasers that you use. I prefer the Lancet MH2 lasers with 2 surges and a stampede on the central laser, which is laser number 1. The other lasers are the left laser, laser number 2, and then the right laser, which is laser number 3, from the angle of flight, or as shown on the screen here. You can set up dedicated mining lasers for the other turrets if you wanted to extract, or if you've got a friend coming to have more power. It's completely personal preference. Set the Mole up how you need it for your playstyle. When it comes to using the Mole for the very first time, you might come upon a few little snags that kind of bump you in your step. So we're just going to cover these now. When flying the Mole for the first time, you might find you can't take off. You're pressing spacebar and nothing's happening. You're just thrusting and nothing's going anywhere. The only way you can get off the ground here is by boosting. But the problem with this is, when you boost and spacebar and let go in the hangar or in atmosphere, you're coming straight back down to Earth. And that's just the nature of the Mole. It is a heavy beast and you're just going nowhere. So what you need to do is press K and turn on vertical takeoff and landing. And this will allow you to go up in the air and you'll just hover there like a bird. Wait, birds don't hover, do they? When in atmosphere, or just flying in general, I tend to leave VTOL on. When in atmosphere, I just find the ship is a lot more stable. Whether it's required or not, I don't know. I'm no expert, but this is what I find works best for me. The other aspect of using the Mole that is worth taking note, and it's kind of more of a perk than a negative, is when you're out mining, you can find this tends to happen. You have clumps of rocks. Just hit them with the Mole. Trust me, this thing can take a beating. And I often just bump rocks out the way, just so I can get a clearer shot when mining. For where to mine, head over to Argo and go to the moon of Lyria. Any rock on this planet of 2 or more is guaranteed Quantanium. Mining in the Mole is exactly the same process as with the Prospector. For a guide on using that, check out my Prospector mining guide here, because we're not going to go into great depth on how to mine in general in this video. For the mole, the most important part of the mining process is getting the mole into the right position correctly. You need to set yourself right above the rock so the central laser can access it. You don't want to be in line with it so you can see it. You literally need to be perched above it, like I've done here now. I've come down to the mining seat. We'll turn around and you'll see my angle for my turret allows me full movement of the rock so I can access it and just mine away at it like normal. Just in the Prospector, the only difference here is I've had to get out of the pilot seat to do it. We turn on the laser by clicking on the power on the left hand side of the right monitor, and then all of the controls are exactly like mining in the Prospector. Now when it comes to mining, I don't generally recommend mining on the side of a hill like I'm doing here, but this one actually worked out quite well because the next mining ball rock that I wanted to mine is actually at the bottom of this hill, so the rocks just fell down to the rock at the bottom. Now once you're done mining a particular rock and you need to get out of the seat to go back up to the pilot's chair to move the ship, I advise you not to turn the laser off. It is important that you don't turn it off. There was a bug reported that if you do turn the laser off, it will actually make the ship turn its engines off. So I just advise don't do it. Just hold Y and exit the seat and go up to the pilot's chair and carry on as normal. As we discussed earlier, getting in and out of the pilot's seat is probably one of the main things that puts people off using the mole solo. As long as you've got patience and don't mind it, it won't be a bugbear. It takes 10, 20, 30 seconds at max to move from the pilot's chair to the laser and vice versa. In fact, coming from the pilot's chair is even faster because you can just jump down. But as we discussed, the earnings that you can get from just having that little bit of patience really do make a difference. Once you've mined one rock, get into the pilot's chair, just maneuver the ship to where the next rock is, and repeat the process of mining that rock. The idea here is to get the rocks cracked fully so you can extract them all in one go. No extraction happens until you have cracked open every rock that you want to mine. If you've got 3 rocks or 4 rocks, depending on the situation, you want to crack them all open. Take the time to do it, because if you can get as close to 96 SCU of ore hauled in one run, that's where your money will be. And don't forget, that Prospector is stuck with 32 SCUs, and that is it, and it has to go back to the station. Once you've got everything mined, you need to position your ship in such a way that you can access it with your extraction laser, if you have a dedicated extraction laser, so you don't have to move once you've started extracting to another laser or to the pilot's chair to move the ship because you didn't get it in the right position. So take the time to position yourself correctly. So like I've done here, I can access both the top rock that was on the hill and also the rock at the bottom of the hill and extract it all in one go. Although the ones at the bottom of the hill will extract a little bit slower because they're further away, I'm using a helix here which will help speed that up. Ultimately, what you're aiming to do here is just to prevent the amount of times during the entire mining process that you have to get up from the seat, down to the laser, and then back up to the pilot seat, and down to the laser, and so on and so on. The less you do that, the happier person you will be overall when using the mole. If you're mining Quantanium, again, the process is important because you have a 15-minute timer to get back to the station with the Quantanium before it becomes unstable and blows up your ship. So again, positioning to reduce that time of getting up and down is vital to ensure that you can get back to the station in time. And like we discussed earlier in the video, when extracting, I'm not worrying about what I'm picking up here. I know what I've mined between these 2 rocks that I've found today have enough ore in them to go within my mole with no problems whatsoever. Specifically the Quantanium that I'm mining. It's going to fit into the hull of the 96 SCU hold with no problems. I'm not stressing over it. I'm picking a rock, I'm turning on the laser, sucking it up, and just getting on with it. I'm not worrying about reading the scan window, I'm just sucking it all up. Once you've done mining, head back to your station refinery of choice, in my case it's Argo 1, and get ready to dock. Once you've requested docking, ensure you turn on VTOL. Do not go through into that hangar with VTOL off, otherwise you'll come and hit the hangar floor like a ton of bricks. Put your landing gear out and make sure, if you are with a crew, that no one is in the mining lasers when you dock. The reason for this is, when the laser's out, your ship is bigger and you literally won't land properly because the lasers are actually hitting the floor before your landing gear is. If mining Quantanium, you can always get your ship impounded when docking. This can avoid the bug with the Prospector, where the cargo of your Quantanium goes into volatile status when landing and causing your ship to blow up, losing that valuable ore. Once you're docked, make sure you get your ship stored away at the ASOP terminal and then head on down to the refinery. Once you're down there, you're going to want to get your work order started for refining the materials. In this run, you can see I earned 6,121 units of Quantanium in the run overall, which took me around 45 minutes to an hour to complete. So overall, I've averaged out what a Prospector would have achieved had they done a full 2 runs, with a full cargo hold on both runs. So overall, 500,000 odd AUEC prior to any fees and transportation, which is a good run, and I have really broke even, and I've had fun doing it, and that is the most important thing. But as you can see, runs can vary, and you can get anywhere from 5,000 up to 8,000, 9,000 units of SCU of Quantanium on a run, which is even better. As with all aspects, RNG is RNG. You will have good runs, you will have bad runs. They will all average out, and overall, I find the mole earns more in the long run. If when out mining you're unsure on what rocks contain what Quantanium, this website here, SCORG.TOOLS, is fantastic for showing the quantities within a rock. While it's only an approximation, it's a good guide on what you can expect to get out of it, which means you can actually calculate whether you should break open a rock or even bother with the rocks that you're looking at prior to even starting, which as a mole runner is worth doing. There are other websites like this, but this is the one I prefer. Thank you so much for joining me on this video today of using the Argo Mole solo. Perhaps I've convinced you to use the mole. If I did, let me know in the comments how you're getting on and how much you're earning. I'd love to hear from you. Or perhaps you're just going to continue to use the Prospector, which is just fine. Everyone can use the mole or the Prospector depending on their playstyle. If you like this video, please take the time to click that subscribe button, like this video, and hit that notification bell to receive more updates on when I release new videos. Thank you for taking the time today, and I'll see you in the verse.